Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Everything Horror Podcast. I am your host, Paul Doski, with my lovely fiance,
Tessa Baker.
And we have with us today, I want to say, if I may say, a legend as it comes to the horror genre that sparked a really nice direction when it came to the horror genre back in 1968. And you should know him by the co-writer of Night of the Living Dead, John Russo. How's it going, John?
Hi. I'm doing well. Pretty busy all the time.
It looks like it that you're always busy, John, and that's a good thing, though. I
like it that way. Well, I'm still making movies, still getting published, and I don't intend to quit. So I just keep going. You know, I have my new book, it's called Epidemic of the Living Dead, which I am starting to work on, turning it into a movie, a feature movie, and a TV series, possibly. Everything's always possibly in this business, because when you're not making movies or writing, then you're working on raising money, or at the same time that you're writing and making movies, you're working on raising money, and that's how it goes. So I've got some pretty influential, powerful people behind that project, and it's getting really good reviews all over the place. So hopefully it will happen. But I'm always working on more than one thing at once. You know, that's what you have to do. So at this point, I've got about 30 published books and 15 or 20 movies and magazines and comic books and every other thing that I've done over the years. So I'm prolific. That's how it is.
Well, I must say that's pretty impressive, John. Especially, you have 20 films and 19 published books, and
I have 30 published. About 30 published books.
30. Okay, well then that number needs.
I mean, I don't always update my profiles and things. It's too much trouble, you know. I mean, I have too much to do. So
that's completely understandable, John.
At the point that you probably read something that was written when I had 19 books published, but now it's about 30.
Yeah.
Fiction and non-fiction.
Well, either way, that's pretty impressive. And so, John, for the first question is, what inspired you to start writing?
Well, I discovered I had writing talent when I was in the fourth grade, and we had a substitute teacher in my fourth grade class, and I had the highest grades in the school. So my regular teachers, they knew I was pretty bright, if I may say so, and I'm just stating a fact. So they wouldn't have been surprised, but the substitute teacher was surprised, because she wanted us to write a poem. Well, I had never written, none of us had written a poem before. I wrote this poem, and she spent the whole rest of the class looking through all the books in the little library we have, which was just a couple bookshelves in the classroom. And she was trying to find out where I copied the poem from. She didn't believe I could write it on my own. So, you know, with that and a couple other things that happened, I knew I had writing talent. I didn't probably seriously think about writing until I was ready to graduate from high school. And I've always been the type of person. I wanted to do things my way, and I didn't want to work for somebody else, and I didn't want to have some straight up and down job. So, you know, the idea that I was graduating from high school and have to go to college and work for other people. And I was already working for other people, summer jobs and stuff like that, and they were pretty tough and low pay. So I started writing a mystery novel. I liked mysteries, and I, at that point, didn't have the craftsmanship really, and I didn't finish it. You know, I did write a short story that I still have. And then I went in college, I continued writing. I wrote a novel based on my time in college, which was pretty hilarious. And, you know, that book never got published. Again, I was developing the craftsmanship. So, and then I went into the Army and wrote another book while I was there. Again, none of them got published, and but here's the thing: I kept all that material. I still have that stuff, which I advise every writer to do. Don't throw things away, and because parts of all that writing have worked their way into books that I did get published later on. So, and sometimes reworked and sometimes not reworked so much. So anyway, then when I got hooked up with George Romero and Russ Streiner and so on, we had this little film company. We all wanted to make a feature film. We didn't want to make commercials forever. That was just a stepping stone. And we just worked our butts off and slept on the studio floor a lot of the time and worked for 3-4 days with no sleep a lot of the time, and just put all the money into buying equipment and studio space and so on. And as soon as we had a 35 millimeter camera, I said, George and Richard Ritchie was the first zombie in Night of the Living Dead that gets shot. He gets shot in the chest and doesn't go down, and it's when the hands crash into the window, and he's one of them there, and finally he gets shot in the head. That's when he does go down, in case you want to know who Richard Ritchie was. But in 1967, he was working in an ad agency that we helped get him that job when he got out of the Navy, and he and George and I were eating grilled provolone sandwiches and sipping beer, and George and I were bitching about the fickleness of our commercial clients. When they had a little bit of money to spend and needed a good creative job, they came to us, and when they had a lot of money to spend, they ran away to New York so they could see the Broadway plays. And that's how it was. And Richard said, well, why don't you do something about it? And I said, well, we bought that 35 millimeter camera last week. What if 10 of us kicked in $600 each, and we'd have $6,000, and we could make some kind of film if we shot black and white and work printed it down to 16 millimeter, because all our editing equipment was in 16, and then maybe we could sell it off the work print, and the edited work print. So George got all excited, like he always did anytime there was a prospect of making a movie. And he said, we're going to make a movie. And he banged his hand on the table, and all the bottles and glasses and ashtrays went flying, and people stared at us. And Richard said, you guys are crazy. And so I said, well, do you want in or out? He thought for a while and blew some smoke rings and said, I'm in. So that's how it started. We went back to this was obviously the beginning of Night of the Living Dead. And we went back to the studio. We only had 5 people working in our little company at that time called The Latent Image, but we had some close associates like Richard and his cousin Rudy and some other people. So we told Russ about it, and right away he wanted in, Gary wanted in, Vince wanted in, and Larry Anderson was kind of the oddball of the group, and he didn't want in. He thought we should raise the $6,000, but make a kick-ass TV spot that would help us sell bigger budget TV spots. So he never did come into it, and he left the company not long after. So then we just formed a company called Image 10 with the 10 people. Everybody kicked in $600, and that's what got it started.
That's impressive.
Yes.
That is impressive. And John, real quick, can I say thank you for your service? And
Pardon me?
Thank you for your service.
Oh, you're welcome.
We know that with Night of the Living Dead had a title before that, which was Night of the Anubis.
Well, the script is copyrighted under the title The Anubis, which is, the Anubis is the Egyptian god of death, and that was George's idea, and too esoteric. So I'm pretty sure I was the one that came up with Night of the Living Dead. It was a Night of the Flesh Eaters, and then there was a movie called that, and we got a letter from their lawyer, and we changed the title to Night of the Living Dead, and I'm pretty sure I'm the one that came up with that. And I wrote all the promotional stuff, even the lines that are on the poster and most of the lines that are in the trailer. I actually wrote most of the script. And, you know, George and I were the two writers in the group at that time. So we bashed ideas around. I said, George, you know, whatever we do, it ought to start in a cemetery because people find cemeteries spooky. Even Abbott and Costello meet Dracula when that coffin, they're standing over that coffin and the candles are moving over it. It's funny, but it's scary at the same time. And so I started working on an idea where these kids steal a case of beer and they're hiding it in a cemetery. And the original thought was that these teenagers from outer space land in this small town and they become friends with the Earth kids. And now the Earth kids they have these special powers and they're wreaking havoc in this town and driving the sheriff crazy. Okay. And then we found out, we figured out pretty fast we didn't have enough money to do any kind of spacecraft landing and those kinds of special effects. So we started thinking about horror. So then I started with the same idea: kids hiding beer in the cemetery. They get caught. The one kid gets grounded, runs away from home. He's running through the woods, and he steps through a pane of glass in the ground, and underneath that pane of glass is a rotted corpse. And the premise was that the aliens have come to Earth, but they're already here, so I don't have to show a spacecraft landing or any of that stuff. But they're here, and they're after human flesh. So George came in by around that time, and he had written about 20 pages or so of a story that has started with a girl in a cemetery, and she's being chased after her brother is attacked, and blah, blah, blah. And I read it, and I said, you know, George, this has all the right twists and turns and suspense, but who's chasing this girl? You never say. And he said, I don't know. And I said, well, and what are they after? I said, it seemed to me they could be dead people. And he said, that's good. I said, well, what are they after? You don't say that either. They don't bite, they don't claw. What? He said he didn't know that. I said, well, why don't we use my flesh-eating idea? So that's how they became dead people after human flesh. And without those ideas, you don't have Night of the Living Dead or anything that came after. Then George got tied up with a commercial client that wanted only him as their director on some TV stuff. And I didn't want the project to die, so I just picked up the ball and I wrote his story into screenplay form, rewriting it as I went. And then I wrote the whole rest of the script myself. So I actually wrote most of the script. And I came up with most of the main ideas. The whole plot of the second half, the escape and everything else, that all came from me. So George often didn't give me credit for it, such as this business. George was a great guy, but he had his weaknesses. So eventually I got kind of pissed about it and started telling the true story, and that is the true story. So there you go.
Wow. Well, I did notice that you were uncredited a lot for Night of the Living Dead, and you also did the Washington military reporter as well. And
I was the general's driver in the Washington D.C. scene, and I was the one that got the tire iron in the head. I fight with Dwayne, and he puts the tire iron in my head. And I also did the Molotov cocktail stunt. I was set on fire with real gasoline in a different costume. 3 takes, and they're all in the movie. So I was there every step of the way. Without me, that movie wouldn't exist. Not only because it was my idea to make it in the first place, but the main ideas of the main concepts were mine. So
correct.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, I have to say that Night of the Living Dead is like my all-time favorite movie. Like, I think it was incredibly well done, and it's just always been a favorite of mine, like right at the top of my list. So thank you making it.
And all these stories, the thing is, I've told these stories 100 times, you know, so you're not really doing anything new yet, if that concerns you. And I have a book called The Complete Night of the Living Dead Film Book. And I didn't tell the story in detail when I wrote that book about how the script got done. I didn't want to rain on George's parade. I've always rooted for him, wanted them to do well, helped him out whenever I could, and including giving him permissions to use things that he needed permission from me to do, like Dawn of the Dead. I had to sign off on a lot of stuff or he would have lost his distribution deal. And then when we did Return of the Living Dead, his partners turned around and tried to take the title away from me. I had to go to New York to testify with Ryan and Hemdale's lawyers, and the MPAA ruled unanimously in my favor. So,
wow, I did not know.
Those are just some of the crazy twists and turns of the business that never ends, you know.
The business is always corrupted somewhere.
Self-interest, you know. I have a motto when I do a project, and what it either works for everybody or it works for nobody. I try to put it together in such a way that everybody knows exactly what's happening, they agree to what's going to happen, and they get fairly paid in terms of credits and money if there is any money. And so that's the way I operate. But a lot of people, probably most people in this business, it's a dog-eat-dog business in a lot of ways, and their motto is, it's great if it works for me, and I don't care if it works for anybody else.
Wow. Well, I don't know if you heard me, John, but I was like saying the business is usually always corrupted one way or another. It's pretty sad, though, especially nowadays, it seems.
Well, there are a lot of charlatans in the business. There's a lot of famous people that don't really know what they're doing, and what they do is they shoot 30 times as much footage as going to end up in the movie, and they dump it on an editor. And they really don't know blocking and pacing and all these other things they're supposed to know, but somehow they get a reputation and land some money. So that's
true.
We did my newest movie is really good, and it's in distribution through ITN Films out of Las Vegas. It's getting good reviews, and audiences love it. My Uncle John is a Zombie, which you can go to the website, myunclejohnisazombie.com. And I play the lead role. And I wrote 3 of the songs in the movie, and 2 of them I sing as a zombie, and all of that's getting good reviews.
Zom, 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 zombie dooby, zom, 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 zombie dooby, zom, 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 zombie dooby, zom. Zom, 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 zombie dooby, zom, 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 zombie dooby, zom, 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 zombie dooby, zom. Well, I love you, darling, love to munch on you. I want you, darling, to make a lunch of you. I need you, darling, I need to munch on you. Well, come into my heart. I need you, darling, I want your body parts. Come here, darling, let me munch on you. Well, yes, you see, I never hate nobody like you. I crave your body, yes, I crave your body. Strawberries and whipped cream too. Come, make my dreams come true. I need you, darling, I wanna punch on you. I need you, darling, I'd love to lunch on you. Hey babe, I ain't the big bopper, I ain't Elvis Presley, ain't Chuck Berry neither. This is your Uncle John. I love all the things you got, and I gotta have some. I want you real bad, babe. I want you real bad. Well, I never, yes, you see, I never ain't nobody like you. I crave your body, yes, I crave your body. Strawberries and whipped cream too. Come, 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 make my dreams come true. I need you, darling. I wanna munch on you, I love you, darling. I'd love to lunch on you. Love to lunch on you. Love to lunch on you.
Where's it going? I don't know. Where's it going?
So this was a real kick, and my co-director was Rob Lucas, and he and Gary Vincent and I produced the movie. So there's a lot of information on it on the website. So, but I wanted to say that Gary has, on the heels of the Uncle John movie, he has directed several low-budget movies, and he did one in Ecuador. He just got back from there. Then he went to Phoenix, and he's shooting there now on something. But he also, his first job that he directed, he sent me a link to it, and I watched it a week or so ago, and it's called A Promise to Astrid. And I gave him a blurb. It's true. Gary did an amazing job in his directorial debut. It's a really good story. It's not a horror film. It's a kind of it's very inspirational about this woman named Astrid, who basically used her money to help people that were in dire straits or needed a new direction in life, and they just had to promise her that they would do certain things. Like if this one guy wanted to own his own car repair shop, but he was on drugs and blah blah blah. So she helped him do that, but he had to promise her no more drugs and back to his family and do the right thing. So it's a really well done movie. And I made it for under $50,000. So
Wow.
But like I said to Gary, a lot of people think they can direct movies or write movies or whatever, and not too many people can. And that includes even, there's a lot of crap that gets made in Hollywood for millions and millions of dollars. And
Oh yeah.
it always kind of stuns me when I see some real bad mistakes in the things they do.
I hear you.
Anyway, that's and Rob has a studio now in L.A. Rob Lucas, and he produced the Night of the Living Dead 40th anniversary documentary, and he's been a videographer for Kirk Hammett of Metallica. So he got me in with Kirk and the band, and Kirk has one of the biggest horror collections in the world, worth millions. And so, it's really great. I've been to a couple of Kirk's events, and they're just terrific. We get treated like we're rock stars. We get the same celebrity treatment as the bands do. So that's a kick. And Rob shot the Slayer video, the one that, I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's shot in a prison. I think it was 2015, and it was the top music video of 2015. So Rob is a very accomplished guy and a great friend. And so is Gary, and they're both honest and reliable,
It's great.
And they're also, the acting in My Uncle John as a Zombie is very good. We have Sarah French, we have Chuck Corby, who was in another movie I made called The Mob Boss and the Soul Singer, and Solon Sangaris plays one of the zombie hunters, and I wrote the screenplay. The next thing I did is I wrote the lyrics to a song called Beat 'Em or Burn 'Em, playing off of George Costanza's lines in the movie, in Night of the Living Dead. And I have the lyrics with me on a location. I said, "Sing, Solon." He used to sing and play with a band called Uncle Festus in New Jersey. Anyway, I said, "Solon, do me an arrangement of this song. It's like a chant." And so he did, and it's really good. It's in the movie, and then we cut 2 preview trailers to it. You'll see them on the website. It's one's a 1-minute trailer and a 2-minute trailer. People see the thing and they say, "I can't get that song out of my head. I keep singing it all day." So that's good.
Well, that's the point.
Yeah, people are really getting a kick out of this movie. I'll be at the Cinema Wasteland convention coming up in April, and I'll also be at the New Jersey Horror Convention this coming weekend, not the March 29th weekend. And at Cinema Wasteland, they're going to show My Uncle John is a Zombie.
There was an Indiegogo campaign for your upcoming film, My Uncle John is a Zombie. Can you give us a small synopsis of what appears to be a fun film that you made?
Well, that was a long ago campaign. I mean, that campaign's over with. We used that to raise a little money when we were going to make the movie. So don't pay attention to that. I mean, it has synopses. Just go to the website, myunclejohnisazombie.com, and it has all that kind of information there. I mean, if you want to hear, basically, it's the story is that Uncle John, the Uncle John character, has a ditzy niece and a dumbass security guard nephew. But they've rescued him when he turned into a zombie. He was going to be bashed in the head and killed, and they saved him, and they kept him alive for 40 years and secretly feeding him the kind of food he needs, which you know what that is. And then the niece, called Sci-Fi, she that's her stage name. She decides that she needs to bring Uncle John out into the public to advocate for zombie rights. She thinks there ought to be hospices and treatments and searches for cures and all that, instead of just gunning them down or burning them. And so some people think Uncle John's a fake, and some people think he's for real. And then the Zombie Research Institute does tests on him and find out that his blood's really coagulated in his veins, and he's actually dead. But he can move and talk. And so he becomes world famous. It gets hard to even do commercials, including commercials for sexual aids and beer and whatever. So that's the basic story. But there's a guy running a zombie hunting camp that just wants people to try to gun Uncle John down. He wants to kidnap him and charge people $100,000 each for the chance of killing famous Uncle John, the zombie. So that's the basic story, but it's just a real kick. It's one thing after another. One scene, it's like the old laugh-in, that you're probably too young for that, but where a whole series of vignettes, and if you don't laugh at one thing, you laugh at the next thing, and that's, the story has continuity and solidarity and all that, but scenes, different type scenes are held together by the plot, but they're all funny in their own way. Or scary, or bloody, or whatever.
Nice.
Well, I definitely look forward to seeing it.
Me too.
By the way, when could we expect the release of My Uncle John is a Zombie?
Well, it's in release now, and the distributor is actually at the Hong Kong at the Indo-China film market in Hong Kong right now. They debuted it at the European film market in Berlin, so they're going to work the film markets, and then they're going to release in North America. So whether they'll do any theatrical or how much they'll do, we don't know. We've been doing special screenings and festival screenings on it and getting great reaction. And then eventually it'll be out on DVD, but you don't want to sell the DVDs because then people will pirate it. You have to distribute films in a logical and safe manner.
Well, I still can't wait to see it once it comes out.
Well, you might, if you watch the website or whatever, you know, there may be special screenings. Maybe there'll be a special screening someplace close to you.
I hope so. It sounds like a really fun film to watch.
You'll see the people's comments. I mean, you know, they'll. That's what they say. It's some people have seen it more than once because we've had several screenings in the Pittsburgh area where it was shot, and people that have seen it will come back and see it again, and they can't wait till they can buy it on DVD. So it's a real crowd pleaser. It deserves a big release, but that the whether we get one or not, that's one of the pitfalls of this business.
Yes. Now going back for a second, John, about the Night of the Living Dead. Now, what are your thoughts about the whole Night of the Living Dead being a public domain?
Well, it shouldn't have been, and really, it's one of the greatest travesties that they say it's in public domain. The distributor let some prints out. Our first print had a copyright on it under Night of Anubis title. And when you have a copyright on your first print, you're not supposed to lose your copyright because under the law, a third party made the mistake, not us. But it took us 7 years to sue them to win the lawsuit and get the rights back. And by that time, some of their prints without copyright had been in the market, so people thought it was public domain. We actually had a registration on it until 1995, and then some asshole in the Copyright Office decided to try to revoke it. So we kept fighting it all the way, and it's one of the greatest injustices of the whole motion picture industry. We've been ripped off for millions and millions of dollars because of it, and it's not and through no fault of our own.
Wow, it just sounds like it's a one headache after another, and.
Well, you know, it launched careers for those that wanted it. Most of the people involved with the movie didn't do much after that, but George and I were the two that went on to do a lot, you know.
Right.
So that's just, I don't know what else to say about that.
Yeah, it's just one of those headaches, I guess, is all we can really say about it at the moment, and hopefully down the road it gets resolved if it's still not resolved. I know you said you've been fighting it every step of the way, but I don't know if what I'm reading on the internet, which most of the time the internet is bullshit anyway, so I mean, I don't know if it's accurate as well, so well,
Russ Steiner and I ran that company, Image 10, for 50 years, and we're the ones that did all the gut-grinding work on it. Now it's being run by Russ and his brother Gary and some other people. And what they're going to do, I don't know. But I don't really now. I have to put my attention toward other things. And it grinds your guts every time some unauthorized thing comes out, but it's constant and forever.
Wow. Well, John, it's interesting that you were mentioning before too, the Return of the Living Dead, which you were stating that you were having a battle with even the name. And to be honest, that's actually another favorite film of mine is the Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah, both of us actually.
And
thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for making it. I'm just wondering too, so what would the transformation because I did read there was a Return of the Living Dead book before it became a movie.
Well, Rudy Ritchie, again, most of the ideas that went into the original script were mine. I turned them over to Rudy Ritchie, who was partner with me and Russ Steiner at the time, to write the first draft of Return of the Living Dead, a straight horror script. And different people that read it wanted it revised. I did all the revisions, and I was supposed to direct the movie. And then Tom Fox was producing it at one point, going to produce it. And then people were saying, Ryan and Hemdale and others were saying that straight horror is dead. You can't do straight horror. You have to turn it into a comedy. So Fox paid us a lot of money to buy the script outright, and then he hired Dan O'Bannon to rewrite it. Meantime, my script, I wrote a novel based on my script, and it was published. And then when we sold the thing to Fox, I retained the novel rights, so I novelized Dan O'Bannon's script. So there are two Return of the Living Dead novels, one straight horror, one based on Dan O'Bannon's version of the movie.
Wow.
Night of the Living Dead was more of like a serious zombie film.
Yeah.
Whereas the Return of the Living Dead, there was more comedy in it.
Well, like I said, I had nothing to do with the comedy. That, like I said, Dan O'Bannon revised it to turn it into a comedy, and it's pretty much a complete revision. What I wanted to do was just take, Night of the Living Dead concentrated on a group of people in the house being attacked, and you didn't know what was going on. Return of the Living Dead, the straight horror version that I wrote, dealt with, the breakdown of society as a result of this epidemic. And, you still have to fight the zombies, but now you're fighting other people that want to rape, rob, and pillage. It just like happens in that, in the uprisings and so on now. You have the bad guys around now. So that's what the original Return of the Living Dead is about. And then Dan O'Bannon revised it, made it into a comedy, which I liked it. I thought it was very good. And I novelized it, and that was it. And he liked the novel, so.
But John, thank you again for coming on, and for your final question. What can we expect to see from you in 2019?
Well, you're already seeing it, some of it. And then, my Uncle John is a zombie in my new book, Epidemic of the Living Dead, which, and the Publishers Weekly did give it a great review, among others, and they said that it takes the whole zombie thing in a new direction, and it does. So, and that's, to me, what you have to do. I don't like tired carbon copies. Or Walking Dead, for example, was a total Night of the Living Dead ripoff. George despised those people. Now, I met those people back when they were selling comic books, and their first comics was it was Night of the Living Dead all over again. So they got lucky, got some money, and now they're all healthy.
Wow.
They wouldn't exist if it weren't for us. So that's, and that again is how the business goes. So resent them, I might sound like I do, but I don't. Well, it's just what happened. If you get bitter, if you become bitter, then you're done. There are people that they'll write one thing and they have one egg in their basket, and when it doesn't sell, they blame other people. They become bitter. They don't do anything else, and that's how their careers are over before they even get started. I think I noticed that we're friends on Facebook now.
Yes.
Well, so you'll see. I mean, I'm on my Facebook page pretty constantly, so you'll see when new things. In fact, the trailer's up there. I'm friends with the band Guar, and Brad Roberts is the CEO and the drummer, and he actually posted, because they're in the movie, they're in the Uncle. I wrote a part for Brad and his wife, and it's a neat little scene that they do, and he posted the trailer up there on my website and talked about Jizmak Dagusha being in the movie. So,
well, wow.
Yeah. They're really bright. They're very bright, creative, and warm, caring people. They really are.
I'm glad.
So's Kirk Hammett and the others in the Metallica.
Wow. Well, I don't want to keep up anymore. Take any more time away from you, John.
We know you're a very busy man.
Yeah, you're very busy, and I hope you have the good rest of the weekend. If you would ever like to come on and talk with us about any of your upcoming project down the road, like My Uncle John and stuff, maybe down the road or something. We would love to have you back so we can talk more.
Okay. Well, good luck with it. I hope it serves your purpose. I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you coming on to talk with us, John. It means a lot to Tessa and I.
Thank you very much.
All right.
All right. Well, for those listening, thank you so much for tuning in. And I was your host, Paul Doski.
And I'm Tessa Baker.
And as always, stay scary.